Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and it's time for another video. This time, we're going to be looking specifically at Leeds United and the January transfer window. We are just a couple of days away now from New Year's. Before we get into the video, as always, please smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, get your comments in, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a trick. No doubt there will be a number of videos, a number of lives coming to you throughout the month of January. And before I get into the meat and bones of the video, I just want to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you all had a fantastic time. I've had a few days off and I've needed it. I've enjoyed it, to be honest. That little circuit breaker that Leeds United are having currently, it's given me a little bit of respite, put my feet up and enjoy Christmas with the family. And Leeds United didn't ruin it because, let's be honest, we were going to be on the end of a spanking from Liverpool. And thankfully, we don't have to sit through that anymore. We've got Villa off. Next game, Burnley. Leeds United squad will have a totally different look. I'm sure we'll get players back. We'll be fresher, hit the ground running, start getting points on the board and pulling ourselves away from the bottom three. That's what I believe will happen. You know what my thoughts are about this relegation chitter-chatter? We are in a fight, we're not out of the woods, but I don't think we'll be relegated come the end of the season. I know not a lot of you agree with me, but that's just where my thoughts are. But let's get straight into today's video. And we're going to start, first of all, we're going to touch on a number of topics. We're going to touch on outgoings. We're going to touch on incomings and some potential players that have already been linked, and just some noise coming out from the likes of Bielsa, from Victor Orta, from Radwazani himself, and just assessing if Leeds United will do business, will they, won't they? I want to know your thoughts in the comments. And of course, I want to look at, potential incomings if Leeds were to do any business. But first of all, we're going to start with outgoings. Will there be any outgoings from Leeds United? In my opinion, definitely not. I know everyone on Christmas Eve were like cut to ribbons when they seen the news reported from TNT Sports Brazil that had loads of credible followers, and therefore they were everything was going to be true. I had so many messages, so many DMs telling me Rafinha's gone. I bought my son a shirt for Christmas and I was like, oh, might as well put this in the bin now, But this same outlet also did report that Leeds United were going to sign Matheus Cunha, and obviously we know that never happened. But they were coming out with the story that the winger was due to join German giants Bayern Munich for a fee in the region of 40 million. Straight away, that started alarm bells ringing in my head. 40 million? Are you being for real here? This guy, he's our best player this season. He's carried Leeds United on his own at times. Yes, we paid 17 million for him, and it's still a lot of millions earned on the top of that. But 40 million, really? We then heard that Bayern Munich, they have a plethora of wingers available to them. The only way they would do business if some of them were moving on, but I believe Bayern Munich were very much concentrated on getting these players like Gnabry's, like maybe Kingsley Coman, etc., signed to new deals. And as has been reported, and as my thoughts were, and you can check Twitter, and anyone that spoke to me, I said, this is a non-starter. This will not happen. I don't profess to be ITK, but there is no way Leeds United were going to let Rafinha go in January with the current state of our football club, where we stand in the league. The importance of him as an individual to Leeds United, there is no way the club were going to sell him, and especially for the measly amount of 40 million. 40 million for a player of that caliber. And it would make no sense because, as I said before, this man has been our main attacking threat in the difficult first half of the season. His contract is actually due to run out in June the 30th, 2024. So still a lot of time on there. And I'm led to believe that talks are actually ongoing over an improved deal at Ellen Road. Maybe that will include, a buyout clause. I've seen a lot of people when they seen this 40 million assume that there was a buyout clause in there. That doesn't, seem to be the case. And 40 million, come on now, you're having a laugh. But these talks over an improved deal at Ellen Road may well mean that it will include a buyout clause, but it'll be nowhere near 40 million, believe me. And of course, we know that Deco himself was at the Arsenal fixture. Maybe he had flew into Leeds, into Ellen Road to speak about this improved deal. You know, maybe he's putting news stories out there in the hope that Leeds United will increase this guy's wage. You just don't know. But believe me when I say he will not leave Leeds United in January. Clip it up, because I know it ain't going to happen. Because Leeds United, it would be suicide for Radrizzani and for Orta and the club. And Bielsa, I don't think, would allow it for us to sell him in the current stature we find ourselves in. It's just not happening. In the summer, okay, yeah, he's the one player that I'm really, really worried about, you know. One player that I'm not worried about as well in January is, of course, Calvin Phillips. He was interviewed by the Mail. He said, look, I just want to focus on getting back fit. I speak to the owner regularly. I want a new contract. I'm very happy here. And for those that aren't on social media, if you've seen the film with Leonardo DiCaprio, The Wolf of Wall Street, that clip where he says, I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on. Well, Calvin Phillips did something similar over Christmas. I'm assuming his family's get together that did the rounds on Twitter. Calvin Phillips is going nowhere. And the more I hear these sort of stories, the colder I'm getting on him leaving. I sort of had resigned myself to the fact that maybe not this summer, but next summer he will move on. But the fact he's happy here, he wants a new deal. Leeds will improve. We're not going to languish in the bottom half of the table season on season. I just don't see it. I believe there will be an injection of cash next summer. The club genuinely believed that the players that they bought last summer would have seen us through, because a lot of them were injured. It just turns out they're all still injured. We didn't do well in the summer, and therefore we will have to dip into the market in January, maybe even for some short-term fixes. But Leeds will improve, and therefore we will climb up the table, maybe not this season, but next, and therefore Calvin may continue to be happy at Leeds United and see his future here, because he's already got into the England squad. Playing for Leeds United, it doesn't look like he's going to be coming out of there anytime soon. So that's all positives. And him doing that video and him speaking to the Mail and saying, I am very happy here. I speak to Radrizzani constantly. I want to stay, fills me with so much joy. Just those that will hear this sort of stuff may then think, well, Radrizzani himself has been, you know, on record as saying that Leeds will need to sell before they buy. We are following the Leicester model, you know, and we as fans know and accept that fact that certain players may need to move on in order for us to bring new people in. It's worked for Leicester. You know, you can look at what they sold a fridge for 80 million. They bought Fofana for 30 million. When Fofana moves on, he'll be going for upwards of 80 million, like Maguire's, but he's actually better than Maguire. You know, they've got players like Ndidi that might move on, but they've just, you know, give themselves a failsafe bringing in Bubakai Sumare. You know, they've got Patson Daka brought in for when others move on. James Maddison, etc. Constant churn. Ben Chilwell, for example, sold, you know, for around 50 million. That's what they do. And if we were to follow that model, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that, because look what they've enjoyed. They've enjoyed a Premier League title, they've enjoyed an FA Cup, and they've enjoyed Champions League runs. You know, I know it's not going great for them currently, but if you could give me, as a Leeds United fan, an FA Cup, a Premier League, and a Champions League run now in the next 5 years, I would snap your hands off. I believe we all would. So listen, of course, you know, we will sell. Will that be in January? No. And the interview that he did with Forbes that started doing the rounds, that then also built into this big thing saying, Radrizzani's saying we're going to have to sell to buy. Or, you know, Rafinha's going to Bayern Munich. It's all fitting in and we're all adding 2 and 2 and getting 4 and everything's going to happen and we're going to get relegated. I need to note that that interview that he did with Forbes, right, was conducted prior to the announcement of the English Premier League's new USA media deal, and also the report that the 49ers were set to buy control of Leeds, which at the time, during the Forbes interview, Radrizzani denied. We know that that now is going to happen. We've had fresh, cash injection from the 49ers. There's a new Premier League US media deal. There is more money now available. So I think a lot of people were making 2 and 2 and getting forward. In actual fact, you know, that interview was done even before some of these things had happened. So that's just for any naysayers that will say, when I just mentioned KP and Rafinha staying, oh, well, Radrizzani said X, Y, Z. Well, that was done before a number of things actually happened. And there'll be even more naysayers as well now saying, well, Bielsa doesn't want anyone. He's on record as saying that fact, that we know that is untrue also. The narrative on Twitter and a lot of places, and even by the media, was that he doesn't like to do business in January. And he came out before the Arsenal game in the press conference and said this: I never said I don't want players to come in January. As you guys informed, I am opposed to it. So he was saying that directly to the media. Yous are telling everyone I'm opposed to it. I never said that. I do want players in January. He said the only thing I said, and I reiterate, is that to bring in players, they should be better than the ones we already have, which makes sense. Let's not bring in players for players' sake. Now, there is an argument to be said, well, you can improve the depth by improving on a McKinstry on the bench. You can improve on, Yeldy on the bench. A number of players that aren't ready. For me, at the under-23s, Creswell and Gelhardt are the only ones that ready. Greenwood's not. I'd even go as far as to say Drama isn't, just based on his performance against Arsenal and Martinelli. So, yeah, you could say that, but we know that Bielsa likes these under-23s to come through, and that will prove dividends in the end. But first and foremost, we have to stay in the league, right? And he did go on and say that the club has invested 130 million in this squad. I don't know if they can or can't invest more. Maybe we can't, but we get an injection from the 49ers. You would hope that we can. And he said, and because of that, I'm not in a condition to demand incorporations when the organisations have been so responsible. So in other words, because the organisation, i.e. Leeds United and Radrizzani, have already injected so much cash, he's not a position to go. We know the guy has morals. He's not in a good standing. He's not in a position to go to them and say, you need to give me players. Because they've done that. They've backed him. They've given him money. And he's happy and he's content. And if Bielsa's happy and he's content, then that's okay. But know that if players come available and they fit us and they make us better, he will go for them. We've seen that in the summer. We've seen that when he tried to get Conor Gallagher. And we'll get to Conor Gallagher and a few players that have been linked in a little bit. Because I feel like, we need to do that. So moving on, obviously, let's have a chat now about what actually Leeds United need to do. Is it realistic that we dip into the market? Phil Hay did a Q&A over on The Athletic. Make sure you check them out and subscribe and all that jazz. And someone asked him the question, would there be much point in signing someone if it took 3 months for them to get up to speed? And this is another thing that we've seen historically at Leeds United, which I believe is a bit of a fallacy now. I believe it is a bit of a fallacy now. During the Championship tenure, we had certain players that came in. They took ages to get into the side, and a lot of it was due to body fat and numbers, etc. As we've progressed, the players that we bring in are of a higher caliber, are of a position and standing to already be ready to go. We look at Izzy Brown, for example. The guy's been hammered with injuries, never was ready, never could get in. And I think it stems from that time. I look now to when we came into the Premier League, Rafinha was put straight in. Dan James has been put straight in. Because the caliber of players that we are bringing in are already at a level. They're already at a level skill-wise, and they're already at a level fitness-wise. A lot of them are internationals. So they're already fit, ready, raring to go. And I don't think we could say the same of certain players in the Championship that we brought in, and then we came up with this narrative, Jean-Kevin Augustin, Izzy Brown, etc. Oh, well, they're never up to a level. There's a reason they were never up to a level, Jean-Kevin Augustin, he's fallen off the face of the earth. Izzy Brown, sorry to hear, but he's injured all the time again, So there's a reason. There is a reason. Now, Phil Hay's response to that question was, the sense I get from the club is that everyone accepts they can't be complacent next month. Had we have been mid-table comfortably, maybe we wouldn't. Us fans would have still wanted new arrivals. The club maybe have stuck, but they understand they've got to twist. He went on to say Victor Orta and Bielsa don't like to be overly active in January, but you'll have noticed Bielsa saying a couple of weeks ago that signings would be good if Leeds can find a way to make them. Again, that comes away from the narrative that he doesn't want players. He said, provided they are fit enough to step in straight away. Budget will be a factor, and further shareholder investment might be necessary to get players through the door across the whole market. There must be options who are good enough, physically prepared, and priced sensibly. There are players out there. We're going to touch on a few of them. And the club know they can't be complacent. We're playing poker here, playing 21, blackjack. You can't stick. We can't stick. We can't afford to. If Leeds United get to the end of the window and we've got no players, I think it's a travesty. But I don't think we will. I think we will bring them in. Someone said as well, and I think it's a great point made, we need to be very short-sighted this January to pull ourselves over the line and then look to have a more structured recruitment in the summer. And that's what Leeds United have had, structured recruitment. There has been reasons why they're bringing in certain players on certain prices with a view to maybe moving these players on for a heftier price further down the line. It's a fact of where we are as a club. The only really one you can say that goes against that is probably Rodrigo. He's a bit of an anomaly because of his age and the price that we paid, but that was too good of a deal at the time to turn down. You know, Rodrigo was Spain's number 9. He's played in Champions Leagues. He's played at the top of the game. He came available for a cut-down price. Do you want him? Of course, Leeds United. It was one of them that you could argue it hasn't worked, but he's still here, so he still gets my backing. But everything else is very structured. But this person that put this across makes sense because we do need to bring players in, even if it means, you know, there is a bit of short-termism about it, you know, because as Phil went on to say, there are times when it's essential to do a deal here and now. You know, mid-season investment ensures that Leeds stay up. You know, and if it does, and these players don't turn out to be long-term investments for Leeds United or don't get a lot of time next season, if we stay up, it's still money well spent. So even if they become peripheral figures in the future, it's all about the here and now. And Leeds United can't go in with this long-term, you know, look to the future like they have done in previous window. There has to be an element of short-termism. We need to act now, you know? And where must we strengthen, you know? Where are the key areas? Well, we know that we're light in Phillips's area in particular. You know, we need to get someone in midfield, you know, maybe as a backup to Calvin and then also someone a little bit ahead of him. For me, I'd love like another number 10 style player. I'd love, you know, someone to replace Pablo, Samu Saiz. Let's not forget how good Samu was in them early years of Bielsa. When he first came in, against Derby, against Stoke, just pulling the strings. It was a joy to watch. If I remember rightly, he was linked with Liverpool at the time. It still stings me to this day that he wanted to leave because I believe he could have had a great career at Leeds United and could have had an even better career in the Premier League had he moved on. But it wasn't. Some players are not up for it. And where's he playing now? I don't know if if he's in the second division in Spain. He's so much better than that. His technical ability is so much better than that. We need someone of that ilk, a Pablo, a Samu Saiz, and of course someone that can help fill in for Calvin. Or maybe you look at Forshaw. You just need maybe a box-to-box midfielder. You know, we know that Leeds United are after a centre midfielder. We have been for so many times, for so many windows now. We were interested in Michael Cuisance. Obviously, it's a good job we didn't get that done, as well as JK. Can you imagine the scenes? You know, we were after Cuisance. We were after Conor Gallagher. Okay. He went to Crystal Palace, of course. And what signing he's turned out to be. One of the best standout midfielders in the Premier League this season. Lewis O'Brien as well. But we were priced out of that deal. So we know that we need to get a sort of box-to-box midfielder that can play anywhere across the middle of the park. So someone in that ilk, and for me, a number 10 style. 2 midfielders would be perfect. You know, a playmaker, if you will. You know, 2 midfielders would be ideal. 1 for Phillips, and then a more advanced creative player. You know, we know that Forshaw, and he has done well and can sort of fill that Phillips role. But it'd be great just to have some extra numbers in there. You know. But what's a key thing coming out from this season is that actually our defensive numbers are up. Our defensive numbers are actually up on previous seasons, which surprises you. It's actually the attacking output that's down because we're unable to create as many chances, and because we're not attacking as fluid and as constant as we previously were, we're always constantly under the cosh. So we need to improve our attacking outputs. We do that by obviously having a fully fit squad and better players to call upon, but we also do that by adding someone of a better creative ilk, you know, that can play in that higher and maybe play Rodrigo up top, or just someone to help shoulder that burden. A player like John Swift, for example, and a lot of people will turn the nose up. But we'll get to that because I feel like I might go on a bit of a rant. But yeah, for me, a creative midfielder, someone to replace Samu Saiz or Pablo Hernandez, someone to, a bit more of a backup to Calvin, a bit more of a like for like. Koch, maybe Stroud could play there. I'm just thinking we just need midfielders. Give me 2, I'd be great. Box to box style, someone like a Lewis O'Brien or Conor Gallagher, and then a creative force, you know, like a John Swift. You know, we know that Bielsa rates John Swift. John Swift's contract at Reading expires at the end of next season. He's going to be very, very affordable. We don't have a massive budget. I believe he was originally touted for about 7 million, which again is well within our remit. But I believe it's even lessened even more than that because John Swift has rejected a new deal at Reading, which means they could lose him for free next term. So do they cash in January while people are interested in him? You know, there are a number of clubs interested in him. I believe Burnley, Wolves, Sheffield United are all considering moves. We've got to go in there. And again, it's not a marquee signing. You know, it's not a sexy signing. But remember what I told you guys, and I'm not, you know, when I'm right, I like to hammer it home. I told you guys about Conor Gallagher, and so many people turned their nose up at Conor Gallagher and said, nah, he couldn't do it. He was in a relegated West Brom side. That doesn't mean jack. Just because you're in a poor side doesn't mean you're a poor player. And a lot of people who got, and I've seen it on Twitter actually in a thread when we were talking about transfers. Oh, he plays in Championship, he's not good enough. Not true. My man Oscar said about John Swift being a Premier League player in waiting. We need to look at the impact a great coach can have on players as well. I bring into you, say, Antonio Conte at Tottenham. Look what he's done with that side that were going nowhere. The squad's not great. Now they're on a great run in the Premier League and are fighting for top 4. And he's not even added any players because he knows what he's doing on the training pitch. And we know Bielsa can do that. So anyone that comes in, he's going to improve. I've rarely yet to see a player that's actually regressed under Bielsa. They have all got better than their original, standpoint. And we can't turn our nose up at a player like John Swift. He's got great numbers this season in the Championship. He'd be relatively cheap. He's got 8 goals and 9 assists in 21 appearances. Stick him in that 10 role behind, Bamford. He will create, And again, a lot of people, and even the rest of the Premier League will go, John Swift, Reading, you have no half. What is that the kind of deals you're doing? But he would fit like a hand does in a glove in this Bielsa side for me. He's rejected the final contract. Originally, he was touted for around about 7 million. That's now plummeted because he's rejected this deal. They don't want to lose one of their prize assets on a free. They'll be ready to take it. Maybe it might be with add-ons, for example, a couple of million. And if it's XYZ, then we'll throw more cash at it, So I think, for me, one of the main ones we should get done and get done quick would be John Swift, for sure. There's your creative midfielder at a cut-down price. And then we can then look at someone to give us more cover in the midfield area, further back in the midfield, if you like. And that could come in the way of a loan, for example, Loans would make sense, Again, it brings in that short-termism, quick fixes, if you like, and that's what we need right now. Ross Barkley's been mentioned, for example, at Chelsea. I'm not a massive fan. I'd like to take Ruben Loftus-Cheek, in all honesty, but I think he's getting much more game time than Ross Barkley is. But to be honest as well, what happens with loans is now a lot of clubs will engineer clauses in there that say that you need to take this player at the end of this window. And some clubs will do that with a Barkley, for example. They may take him on loan and agree to pay, 8-10 million for him at the end. I don't know if Leeds United would be up for that. I don't know if we'd be up for that. But loans is an area we could definitely look at, for sure. For sure. Maybe even look at an Ainsley Maitland-Niles. That Arsenal can play a number of positions. I think he would be an ideal signing. I've seen him linked to Roma. And I think he'd be ideal for Leeds United. If we could get Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan with a view to a perm, bring in a John Swift, I'm already happy. Even with just 2 in the door. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and give me some suggestions. Here are some of the players as well, just finally, to who we have been linked with in the press. Apparently, Leeds United have agreed to sign promising Espanyol striker Mateus Josef Fernandez in January, beating Barca, City, Liverpool and Arsenal. To the youngster, he scored 44 goals in 56 games across 3 seasons as he rose from the under-16s to the under-19s and figured for Espanyol's B team. He can also play for England because he's got English parents, even though he was born and raised in Spain. He's another one, but at his age range, he's going to be coming in and playing for the under-23s. We need fixes here and now. Another player that's been linked is Ronaldo Vieira. Obviously used to play for Leeds United, but he joined Sampdoria back in 2018. He's failed to make a single appearance so far this season. Long-term knee injury. That's never going to happen. I don't know why that one's been linked. It's lazy journalism. There is, of course, Ross Barkley, who I mentioned previously. I'm not very keen, but if he comes in and do a job like he did when he was at Villa last season, yes, 100% I'd take him. You've got Ben Brayton Diaz, formerly of Ben Brayton. He scored 19 goals in 23 matches for Blackburn. But I've seen 20 million muted. And we've got Patrick Bamford. We've got Rodrigo. We've got Roberts. I know not a lot of you, but I just don't see us shelving out 20 million for a striker. I just don't see it happening. And then, of course, Eddie Nketiah has been linked as well. He wants first-team football. He wants to leave Arsenal. He's rejected contracts. Leeds United reportedly interested in him. I don't see it. He didn't get first-team football when he was here on loan. I don't see him wanting to come to Leeds United on a permanent, because he ain't going to get first-team football, is he? He's not suited to our system. Would I love him on loan? Yeah, 100%, because we've seen when we had him before, he did come up clutch at times. He has that ability. But that's that short-termism, isn't it? And I think Arsenal, if they were to loan him out, would want, someone to be buying him by the end of the deal. But that's it. That's it from today's video, what Leeds United need to do in January. I hope you got a lot out of that. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video. I know it's a long one, long for me than I normally would do, but there was loads to ram in there. Have a great New Year as well, and I hope you had a class Christmas. Leeds United play Burnley on the 2nd, which is Sunday. I'll have a preview out for that if indeed it does go ahead. Burnley are supposed to play Thursday, but there's some issues with COVID, etc. So maybe the game might be called off. We'll have to wait and see. But thank you as always for watching the Just Joe Football Show. Smash a like on your way out, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace out. Leeds.